It's opening week. It's time. It's baseball time. And it's the right time to jump into the Discord and join us in our community at patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub. Become a patron of Padres Hot Tub, where for as little as a handful of dollars, you can become a part of a community that is self-selected, that is away from all the ravages of social media like you find on X or Facebook, and that has all kinds of benefits, guys, including even more, Rafy, than ever before.
Yes, we will be talking about it just in a few moments, but we will be doing 3 shows a week for our patrons, exclusively for our patrons. If you are listening to this on the free feed, you will get this show. And if you are a patron and you just decide to join us at patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub, you will get this show. You will get banter, which we just recorded. You will get group therapy, which, you've always gotten. And then also, the 3 of us in some combination every week, if not multiple times a week, will be doing post-game shows.
Yep.
So those will only be for patrons, and you can get those right now by joining patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub.
Welcome to the Padres Hot Tub. It's Craig, it's Chris, it's Rafy, Craig Elsten, Chris Reed, Raphie Cantor. Our trilogy has reached the 3rd film, where it's always overbuilt, overbloated, but hopefully comes to a good conclusion.
It climaxes.
This is our Return of the Jedi. What are you talking about?
Or is it our Return of the King? Or is it our Fast and Furious 3? I don't even know what that one was. Was it Tokyo Drift? Is this our Tokyo Drift? Anyways, that wasn't really a trilogy. I think there was 11 of those or 10. Nonetheless, there's been plenty of these too. We just do 3 shows each year going toward opening day. We did our pessimism podcast. That's long in the rearview mirror. We did our optimism podcast. That was last week. Now we're down to it. It's time to get into the nitty-gritty. Who's on this Padres team? And our official predictions for the club will come at the end of this show. Before that, Chris, a final call out amongst our patrons and those who might become patrons to join us in a Petco Park suite.
Yes, just so you know, this will be our 2nd year running. The patrons, the tubbers of the PHT will gather in a luxurious room in Petco. Actually, this year in the Western Metal Building. Can't wait. And we'll all get together and watch the Padres play a baseball game. I cannot wait. We are, however, down to our last few spots. So if you are a patron and aren't in the Discord all that often and want to go to this game, please let us know. Hop in the Discord or send us an email if you can't do that. And if you've always been curious about the community and want to join in a way that you can put faces to names right away and hang out with us, then join up and sign up to come join us at our Sweet Life 2 at Petco Park this year. Oh gosh, I forgot the dates already, but that doesn't matter. It's coming up, and this is the last call.
Okay, last call. Figure it out. Patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub, and then figure it out from there. Go to Sweet Life, but we'll dig in on that. Outstanding. Good. Can't wait. Year's coming. All sorts of fun stuff is happening. Road trips are planned. Post-game shows in abundance. More programming on the PHT channel. That's the bottom line. Now, what are we going to be covering? We're covering a Padres team that has a ton of expectations. Covering a Padres team that has spent more money than any season other than 2023 in franchise history. That is committed from a payroll standpoint with built-in raises and then with not the subsequent pay cuts that we thought were coming, the subsequent player cuts that we thought would come to accompany those raises. Instead, they just continued to build the team. They added Nick Pivetta. They added Jose Iglesias, right? Yeah, they've put in some low-cost options around the sides. But they're going in. There's expectations on this team this year. There's no question, I think, about that, guys. But can we agree? Everyone expects this Padres team to make the playoffs, and at the very worst, come up just short, but fight for it and be in it all the way.
I have a prediction number.
Yeah, I'm not giving any spoilers.
I will say that my prediction number is the bubble number for the Padres making the playoffs.
Fair enough. Yeah.
That will have factors that are out of the Padres' control. If they hit this number, will determine if they make the playoffs.
I think that's fair. Well, with that, the news of the day, we're gonna put some tea leaves in the cup, and I don't know, they're all colored black right now. Is this good or bad? Darvish is out to start the season with what I have put through the injury translator to be pre-Tommy John surgery, pre-career-ending Tommy John surgery. He's got elbow inflammation that we're going to go ahead and shut him down, but don't worry. It's precautionary. It's minor. It's minor. We don't know why his elbow hurts, but it's minor. We're just going to let that barking dog quiet down, and then he'll ramp on up. And I believe them. And I believe that by May, we'll see Yu Darvish start a game for the San Diego Padres. But 39 elbow inflammation. We just did this show. It was called Joe Musgrove. We did the whole show. I mean, I watched it from first episode to last, and I saw how it ended. Like, why do I think this is going to be different, gentlemen, than what's going on now?
It could be arthritis. I mean, the dude's up there in age. It's tough, Greg. I don't expect nothing different. I love watching Yu Darvish pitch. I love that he's a San Diego Padre, and we're going to get him towards the end of the career. And if that is now, or heaven forbid, we've already seen it, I'm just going to be bummed from a fan of the team standpoint, not even like wanting to see them succeed in 2025. Just from the entertaining product that we get to see, not having Yu Darvish on the team makes it worse, and it's a huge bummer.
Yeah. I'm really sad that my brain is so poisoned to the point where when you said Yu Darvish is going to have career-ending Tommy John surgery, I was like, well, we'll save some money on that contract when he retires. But
doesn't have to.
But he doesn't have to.
Yeah,
exactly. He can pull the old Moonball Media and take that money and sit on the couch. I don't know if Yu Darvish would do that. Also, this is a situation that doesn't exist yet, so it's kind of pointless to speculate on. But yeah, I mean, when we were doing the optimism episode a week ago, my feelings about this team changed a lot, both from the injury news coming out of the rotation and from Transition Man, a Kevin Acee article, which dropped just before we hit record on this, Craig.
Yeah, I appreciate him dropping it when he did, which is some clarity, apparently, that's been offered in Peoria as to the upcoming 26-man roster. And in particular, that 4 players who have been in position battles have been told they have made the team. And I want to go in declining order of my thoughts on the decision-making process of the Padres. At the top of the list, obviously, is Jose Iglesias, who has been told that he's made the team. Jose Iglesias is a player that I personally was campaigning for this club to make, for the last several months. So I would be a complete hypocrite if I didn't think this was the best one in terms of guys who have made the team. He had to make the team. He gives this team everything that Solano brought with much better defense, just a little bit less power. So, and Solano didn't exactly have, 30 homer power. He had 9 homer power. All right. So, love Iglesias. Gavin Sheets has made the team. And amidst all the guys who were $1 million flyers, he's the one who had a dynamite spring, has that prospect pedigree that AJ is always going to be willing to hope is ready to be tapped. That there was something in there. They go back to that first year where he hit 15 homers in limited time. Say there's something in there. There's a 25 homer type player in this cat. He can play first. He can be the DH to start the year. He can play a little outfield, although I'm never going to be excited to see him out there. He's a clunky tank, but he can be in the outfield, physically. So I've got no problem with Gavin Sheets making the Padres. Fair play, sir. Well earned. Now let's pause for a moment to consider the river going by and to imagine a line going darker and deeper and lower and lower and lower below. Now we go below the threshold of an acceptable roster decision. We're going to go lower. We're going to go lower. Now we're down to the testing floor. We're going to go below that.
I thought we were on a river.
Let's get down to the basement. Okay. Ding. Oh, look, here's Martin Maldonado, who will never hit and is 38. And hey, Rafy, what did Martin Maldonado hit last year?
I'm pulling that up for you right now. So Martin Maldonado is 38 years old. That is correct. And last year, he averaged 119 at the plate.
119.
In 147 plate appearances.
It's a game of
they
failure.
Were all homers,
he plays
right?
it.
119, but all home runs?
No, unfortunately, he only had 4 home runs.
Oh. Well, but the OPS, though, because, probably some doubles or walks or...
No, he had an OPS of 404, Craig.
404.
404.
Kind of wonder what the league average was for pitchers in the National League in 1992. I'm willing to guess that they hit better than 119 as a collective and that they had an OPS of at least around 404. This is ridiculous. Martin Maldonado? This is an obviously bad decision. Would anyone care to disagree? Luis Camposano can be optioned. Okay. But
what, Craig? Sorry, I was just pulling up the stats of pitchers hitting in baseball in 1992, and I do have that for you if you would like that.
Please.
They averaged 138 with an on-base percentage of 166 and a slugging of 171.
Okay, so worse.
Yeah, so he slugged better than pitchers did, but
than a 1992 pitcher. He's
a 1992 pitcher. Better. Craig, that's a very good comp.
Yeah, so we're going to cancel playing with the DH on days when Martin Maldonado plays, and we'll instead reinsert the pitcher spot, but it'll be Martin Maldonado. Which is probably worse because, he might hit one of those 4 homers, but he also might just hit the ball on the ground, in which case most of the National League pitchers of 1992 would probably outrun him to first base. So I can't be more depressed with this. But wait, I thought we were at the bottom floor. Turns out if you turn this key... there's a sub basement of an even deeper darkness.
It's a trap door that opens up under your feet.
Yes. It's a little key. It says mens ray on it. You turn it goes deeper darkness, and down the chute you go. And when you get to the bottom, there's Yuli Gurriel waiting for you. I fucking told you he was gonna make this team.
Yeah. You know what this screams of? This screams of Manny being the LeBron
Yes.
James and
Yes.
"This is my guy. He makes the team. I'm the captain.
Yes.
I'm gonna make your year a living shitstorm if you don't let my guy join this team."
Great
Have
example.
you seen the price of eggs lately? You know,
Going up, by the way, Manny.
yeah.
It's the only narrative that makes sense because there's no statistical justification. There's no there's nothing you can kind of dream on. The ceiling is the floor.
So we've got one valuable bench piece, Jose Iglesias. One guy that, look, I'm not thrilled that Gavin Sheets is probably going to start game 2 as the DH. Yuli Gurriel is sure as shit starting opening day against Chris Sale. That's for damn sure. But okay, maybe I can dream on Gavin Sheets Russell Branyoning his way through the season. I think that's the best we could dream on this kid, is a Russell Branyan type performance. But Maldonado and Gurriel are just untenable pieces. They're generally useless. Whatever you think about Maldonado's defense, and I'm sure Acee is going to write 800 words filled with quotes of pitchers telling him stories of Martin Maldonado solving their particular problems, or whatever. I'm sorry. This dude was on the worst team in baseball last year for a reason. He was taken off that team for a reason. He's done. This is an indictment. This is an indictment of the lack of talent at the Padres' depth in catcher. But there's no excuse for Yuli Gurriel. There's none. Oscar Gonzalez is right there, who you're going to have to allow to opt out when he doesn't make the team, who has the potential to do something for this
He
club.
for sure has an opening day opt out. Or are you positive on that? I haven't seen that reported.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know about that, Craig.
I thought
pretty sure he does. I'm pretty
No,
sure
I don't know about him. I don't know about Oscar Gonzalez having the ability to do something.
Oh,
maybe he doesn't, but I'd rather give him a chance than Yuli fucking Gurriel at 41.
Sure. Yeah.
This is my point. It's a zero sum. It's Gurriel or one of these guys. Connor Joe should make this team. And there's one bench spot left, and maybe he will. But Brandon Lockridge should make this team. The way the team is currently assembled, there's no backup center fielder to Jackson Merrill. It's throwing Jason Hayward out there or trucking Tatis over there, and they're not going to. They'll put Hayward out there is what they'll do. There's no real second center fielder unless Lockridge makes the team, and of course Eggy Rosario is over there with no options left. And I'm going to have to throw a caveat when we get to our final prediction of I don't know who we're trading Eggy Rosario for. So I don't know what he's actually going to be come Thursday, because he's sure as shit not going to be here. Otherwise, why do we have Iglesias? I'm so mad about Gurriel. I am. You knew I was going to be, and he's going to go whatever. And even when he gets a hit, somebody's going to be like, I told you, man, we need to have his back. And it's just like Rugi Odor, okay? It's just like Nelly Cruz. It's just like Carpenter. They might get a hit once or twice, but this is a dead spot on your roster now, a complete dead spot, and it pisses me off.
Yeah, in the piece that he wrote today, Kevin Acee wrote that Mike Schilt described this as his hardest decision. It was the most contentious room of folks trying to figure out how to make the roster that he's experienced in his career. And I hope it was just everybody telling AJ not to put Uriel on the team, so that at the first chance they can, he's not. But we've just seen this story before, man. You can even go back even further to Robinson Cano, like trying to find the diamonds in the rough amongst dudes who are 38, 39 years old it's a little insane, and it's getting more insane because we keep seeing it repeated. I really wanted like last year, AJ Preller, the job he did convinced me that these days were past. You know, that if he was going to be taking chances and giving roster spots to people on the fringes, they at least had upside and they had intangibles that they can bring to the team. Uh Uriel does not have any, like maybe the intangibles are he's a good hang and you know he's fun to be around, but that's not anything that's going to result in wins on the field.
Okay, I have one question for you guys. What is the better DH platoon? Yuli Gurriel and Gavin Sheets, or Matt Carpenter and Nelson Cruz?
Well, it better be Uriel and Gavin Sheets, otherwise we be.
But you can't tell me that. You don't know that because and that's the point. You know, that's the point.
Yeah, it could be. It could be they're the same.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, and honestly, going into the season, that's how I look at it now. Is that we've got two likely dead spots in the lineup every day, because unless Elias Diaz has some gear that I'm not expecting, I don't think he's going to hit.
It's not
that much better. I don't think he's going to hit that much better than Martin Maldonado. He will actually hit better than Maldonado enough to make him look good by comparison, because Maldonado can't hit at all. Mm-hmm. I can't believe we are employing a 38-year-old who can't hit at all and a 40-year-old who can't play the field and can't. Like, what are we expect? How good does Yuli Gurriel have to play to justify his spot on the roster? Like, what does he have to hit for this team to justify his spot on the roster?
I take league average, 750 OPS, but he's not going to do that.
Yeah, I'm with Chris. I think 750 OPS, but even then, it's like, okay, so you're saying that the team's going to have to trade Eggy Rosario because you can't send him to El Paso.
Yep.
So
no options.
He's gone. You're saying that Brandon Lockridge, who's had a very good spring, probably isn't going to make the team, although question marks about the Padres' fifth outfielder then. Oscar Gonzalez, who I'm a pretty big skeptic of. John Percoda and I recorded Positive Replacement this morning. That'll be out after this episode drops. But look, the guy doesn't walk. He has a career walk rate of 3.2%. Okay, in his two illustrious years in Major League Baseball, when he was worth 1.4 F4 in 2022, and then was worth negative 1.4 F4 in 2023, and then did not play Major League Baseball last season. He was in the Yankees AAA system. So Oscar Gonzalez, debatable, but interesting. But I mean, again, I think that the biggest crime of this all is Connor Joe, who at least has the track record to play for his hometown club. Well, and I'm not saying he's going to be great.
They get to keep Connor Joe. He can play for the hometown club. Eggy's gone. In 100 plate appearances at the major league level the last 3 years, Eggy has nearly put up one win above replacement in a very small sample size, very limited opportunities. Over the last 3 years, in 1,000 plate appearances, nearly 1,000, Yuli has put up almost -1. And I use B-War because I'm a B-War boy. They're pretty similar. We don't have to nitpick. But that stands. That alone. Here's a guy that you could keep for the next 5 years for nothing. He's young. He plays at least in the infield. You tried him in the outfield. Maybe he wasn't great there. But dude has a great arm. If Manny goes down, he's an instant fill-in. If Jake goes down, he's an instant fill-in. You've given him 100 plate appearances the last 3 years, and you're just gonna throw him away. Like, you're not gonna get significant value in trade with him. You're gonna have to flip him for a single A, double A fringe prospect. Like, you're not going to get anything for Eggy.
Reliever? Could you get a reliever?
Why? What do you need a reliever
Well,
for?
this is the question, and this is what I was just thinking. And unfortunately, by the time this comes out, and by the time opening day comes, we will know the answer to this question. But Padres all of a sudden are very thin in the back of their rotation.
Yeah,
they are. Is there a guy who's a sixth starter? Who you could trade?
Can you get a Dane Dunning for Eggy? Maybe. Maybe that. Maybe.
And maybe that's the plan. Maybe that is why Martin Maldonado is making the team. It's because there's already a principal agreement in place, and or there's teams that AJ is wheeling and dealing with, and we will have that answer. And that will still be unfortunate, by the way. That will still be unfortunate if that's the case. But
yeah, in the end, you can say, Craig, you're making a mountain out of a molehill. Go look. Manny Machado's over there. Fernando Tatis, Jackson Merrill, Xander Bogaerts, Jake Cronenworth, good players are at the top of the order. This guy's going to be at the bottom of the order. It's not going to be immaterial, but this is a choice. This is an organizational choice. And I just reject this choice completely. And the worst part is we knew it was coming. So I'll just repeat what I said before. This is a Manny tax. Manny picked this dude in the winter, worked out with him, and we have to take the tax of Yuli Gurriel's negative impact on the 2025 Padres until it gets to the point that all parties have to agree that it's time to end the Yuli Gurriel experiment. But it's not impossible for Yuli Gurriel to get 108 games and 329 plate appearances and 300 at-bats for the Padres this year and hit 245 with 4 homers. Because that's what he did for the Miami Marlins in 2023, before he couldn't even make a big league roster, and he played in the minor leagues all of last year until he got called up because Kansas City's first baseman broke his hand. Like, it's obnoxious. And I thought AJ was over this.
Yep.
And I think a lot of smart teams in baseball would take that right-handed DH position and just give it to Eggy Rosario and see what the kid could do. And if it didn't work out, it's a defensible play. Yuli Gurriel, to me, unless he makes the All-Star team, unless he profars, to me, this is just it's a mistake from opportunity cost, and it's more importantly a mistake from the basic level of this guy's going to make your team worse, not better.
Yeah, and handcuff you.
Well, and I think that this is
flexibility.
I agree with you, Craig, that a smart team would put him at right-handed DH and just see if it works out. And you said, and if it doesn't work, then no sweat off your back. Which, yes, but if you are going to trade Eggy Rosario, you can't let him make the team, because if he does suck, then his trade value is nothing. It is 0. And you don't have to look any further than the Padres catching platoon right now, because Luis Campusano is not making the team, and his value is nothing to the Padres. They can't do anything with him. They got to send him to El Paso and hope he works out. So, unfortunately for the Padres, if they are trading Eggy Rosario because they need pitching, he cannot make the opening day roster. He has to stay in the mystery box. And sometimes, he's going to go to, I don't know, Philadelphia, let's say, and you're going to open the mystery box and, oh shit, there's 20 home runs inside there. Fuck. But maybe Philadelphia opens the mystery box and there's a goose egg in there. And the Padres now have a back-end starter, and they are weathering what is really suddenly a bleak pitching depth situation, which I'm sure we will talk about in just a few moments in our predictions. But it's a bummer. I hope Eggy Rosario's got a good ride to the airport, because he's not coming to San Diego. That's for sure.
All right, there's this group of people playing for one position player spot for the Padres. We've talked about them all in some way. Connor Joe, Oscar Gonzalez, Brandon Lockridge, Eggy, Tyler Wade. Let's everyone put their chip down on who they think is going to get that last spot, and we can 3, 2, 1 and fire. How does that sound?
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Let me know when you're ready.
Go for it.
3, 2, 1.
Connor
Tyler
Joe.
Wade.
They can't do Wade. They have Jose Iglesias. They have Jose Iglesias. He took Tyler Wade's spot. Like, that is it. And that's a big upgrade. That's a big, big upgrade. Tyler Wade last 3 years, negative 1.7 WAR and 360 plate appearances. Iglesias, 4.3, including a fantastic all-star caliber year last year in 750. They have the same job. Wade's a better base runner, and that's it. That is like the only green check mark he gets. The rest are red X's. Jose Iglesias took his job. Maybe not in terms of being handsome, but he's got the pop star thing. So that's got a sexiness all its own. And that he took his job. It better not be. You better not be right about this one too, Craig. You're speaking evil into the world.
Wait, Chris, who was your pick for the last spot?
Connor Joe, same as you.
Not Connor Joe. Okay.
Well, I mean, Connor Joe makes a lot of sense, but he makes sense for Yuli's spot.
I know. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just thinking that's the best option out of what I see in that list. I think Lockridge makes the best chance to round out your roster and give you a shot, but they didn't give him a contract. They give Connor Joe a contract.
You asked me who I thought would make it. I think who ought to make it is Brandon Lockridge because he makes sense. Dude. He takes Wade's pinch running bullshit spot, and he also can play a good fifth outfielder, and he's had good batted ball contact this spring. And you can't say that about Connor Joe, frankly. I mean, there's not a lot of tape on him, but what are you getting from Tyler Wade? And really, to that matter, what are you really getting from Connor Joe? Certainly, if he's in Gurriel's spot, it makes all the sense in the world, but he's not, so it doesn't matter.
Right. Well, guys, you're being far too thoughtful about all of this because Yuli Gurriel shouldn't be on the team either, and Martin Maldonado shouldn't be on the team either. So we're not making roster choices based on who should be there. We're making roster choices based on reasons. And Tyler Wade's got reasons. So Tyler's making the squad. Everyone else can fuck off. Tyler's making the squad. He's there. He's got one handle on the Gatorade jug and Manny's got the other. And homie is ready to go. And I've given up.
Great.
Yeah, he looks wonderful.
Great. He runs faster than Manny Machado, guys. I mean, case closed. He can outrun Manny Machado on the team.
You put Manny in the office. Hey, Manny, we've got Connor. We've got Lockridge. He's going to go, my boy T. Wade. What up, crew? My boy T. Wade. And T. Wade's on the team. So that's where I see us having our worst bench since 2023, which isn't very long ago when we had one of the worst benches I've ever seen in my life.
I think you can give Manny one guy. You give him two guys. So you think Manny has AJ Preller's testicles in a jar on his shelf at home in Coronado? Is that really what you think it is?
I even think our boy Shilty. I love what T. Wade can do. Love the cut of his jib. I love what that T. Wade. You can put him anywhere. He always got a smile on his face. Plus, me, I love having a lefty. And right now, I look down that bench, Rafy. Son of a gun. I thought you knew this, Rafy. When I got Gavin in the game, I looked down that bench. I got Yuli. I got Martin. I got all righties. Cuz. Need to get me some left-handed slap. Old T. Wade, you can put him in there. See what happens.
He can slap.
T-Wade.
He can slap. He's a slapper.
Yeah, I'm done expecting the rational right now. I'm based on Gurriel. Wade makes the team for sure. And this is why I win puzzle games sometimes. I figure this shit out. Sometimes it's not math. Sometimes it's just the way it is. Okay. With all that preamble, let's see how we can conjure something good out of the prediction segment.
This wasn't the pessimism episode, folks. This was the prediction episode.
This is reality.
This is things that have actually happened, unfortunately.
These are things that have happened. So we're going to do it. So I'm going first this time because I've had the middle chair the last few weeks. And my methodology for this was simple. Craig, do you remember last year we had the same predicted win total? Do you remember what that number was?
Yes, 85 and 77.
85 and 77. So my exercise this year was, let's go through the opening day roster as we know it right now at about 4 p.m. Pacific on Sunday, March 23rd. And let's see how it compares to the opening day roster in 2024. And let's toggle and, -1 there, +2 there, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And let's see where the machine spits out at the end. So I'm going to go through that 2024 opening day roster to remember and remind folks where we were at this time last year. And then we'll go and look at this year's team. Catching last year was Luis Campusano and Kyle Higashioka. Remember, Kyle Higashioka was expected to be a backup catcher at that point. That obviously changed over the course of the season. In the infield, we had Xander Bogaerts, Jake Cronenworth, Ha-Sung Kim, Manny Machado, but he was only playing DH for the first 6 weeks or so of the season because he was still hurt. which is why we had Graham Pauley and Eggy Rosario splitting the duties at third base in his stead. And Tyler Wade, of course, in that critical Gatorade spot in the last part of the infield. In the outfield, we only had 4 outfielders make the opening day roster last year. Tatis, Jackson Merrill, who, as a reminder, was a complete unknown at this point. Shout out to Bob Dylan. And we had Jurickson Profar and Jose Azocar in the last spots. And again, Jurickson Profar was the object of my bullying at this time last year because I thought that he was going to be a dud. Turns out bullying works, and Jurickson Profar got a nice little contract.
That's not the lesson, Rafy.
That's not the lesson. That's right. The lesson is not that, guys. This is an anti-bullying podcast. I just want to make that clear. Okay. Down the line we go. Starting rotation. Dylan Cease, Michael King, Yu Darvish, Joe Musgrove, and Matt Waldron. Of course, Joe Musgrove ended up being a dud last year. So, we didn't know that at the point that we were making the prediction pod. We thought that we had 4 strong starters going into last year and a mystery box guy in Matt Waldron. And finally, at the bullpen, and this is very interesting, the bullpen on the opening day roster last year in reverse order, going from closer down: Robert Suarez, Yuki Matsui, Wandy Peralta, Tom Cosgrove, Eniel De Los Santos, Johnny Brito, Pedro Avila, and Stephen Kolek. So that was certainly a squad in the bullpen. So let's go now through the 2025 differences. The differences. I'm not going to go through the whole list. I'm just going to say who's different in each of these and what is my methodology. Elias Diaz and Martin Maldonado at catcher. Okay. When you compare that to Campusano and Higgy, I'm just going to round number a lot of these. I'm not going to go, minus 0.6 or plus 0.4. I'm just going to round number it. I'm going to say that's 1 win worse than what we thought we had going into last year with Campusano and Higgy. I think that that's fair. We didn't know what we had going into last year with Campusano and Higgy. Now, and that's just for the matter of, we thought we were getting some offense. We're not getting offense this year from catcher. Now, we might get, and we ought to get much better defense for whatever that's worth. But we're not getting better offense. I'm going -1. In the infield, our changes are we have Jose Iglesias, Luis Arraez, who was not on the roster at this point last season. That was a trade. Yes. We have Yuli Gurriel and Gavin Sheets, and then potentially one of Tyler Wade or Eggy Rosario. But I would say both are unlikely based on the conversation that we've had. I think whatever you add from Jose Iglesias and Luis Arraez, you are unfortunately subtracting with Yuli Gurriel and Gavin Sheets. So I am considering the infield a wash because yes, we had Ha-Seong Kim last year, but we also had Graham Pauley getting significant playing time, and we had Eggy Rosario, who might be in this year. And I don't think that Eggy last year is significantly different than Eggy this year. So even if he joins the team, that's a complete wash. And so right now we're still -1. Outfield is interesting, okay? Because we know we have Jason Hayward, and we don't know if we're going to have Connor Joe, Brandon Lockridge, Oscar Gonzalez. But the Jackson Merrill we have now is not the Jackson Merrill we had last year. Or that we know we have now. And
right.
I think there's a possibility that Jackson Merrill puts up a 5 F4 season. I think that that's very within the realm of possibility. He is an extremely talented young man who is playing a premium defensive position, and he plays that defensive position well. However, I think to be fair for predictions pod sakes, I'm going to give the Padres a +3 in the outfield this year, okay? Because I think that whatever's the combination that we're putting together in left field, it's basically what I thought Jurickson Profar was going to be, which is a nothing. So Jason Hayward and Connor Joe or Brandon Lockridge or whatever is a 0 in left field. I'm saying they were like basically replacement level, but we know that our center fielder is at least a +3 win guy. And we have Fernando Tatis Jr., who was also the starting right fielder going into last season. So, you could make the argument that Fernando Tatis Jr. is healthier now than he was a year ago and whatever. I mean, obviously he didn't have a full healthy season last year anyway, But I think +3 is fair. I think that's 3 wins. Okay. So just a reminder, we are now +2 in the column.
Yeah. All right.
However, let's go to the rotation. Because we have Nick Pivetta, Randy Vasquez, Stephen Kolek, or Kyle Hart as our starters. And as a reminder, compare that to last year where we had, and reminder, what we thought these players were going to be going into 2024. Yu Darvish, Joe Musgrove, and Matt Waldron. I find it really difficult to look at the 4th and 5th spot, which will be a combination of Randy Vasquez, Stephen Kolek, and Kyle Hart for the unforeseen future. Really, we have no idea. Like Matt Waldron, he could be back 2 weeks into the season, or he could be back 2 months into the season, 3 months into the season. It's an oblique, which is, I mean, obviously outside of your throwing arm, probably one of the worst injuries for a pitcher, because you use that every time. So I'm really skeptical about this rotation at this point. And when I compare it to last season's team, I'm unfortunately going to give it a -3. I'm going to give it -3 because Randy Vasquez, I'm sorry, is not a major league pitcher. Every 5th day, teams will be playing 6 lefties against him, and we will lose that game. I'm telling you now. So I don't know how you can look at that and okay, maybe we'll get surprised by Stephen Kolek, maybe, and he'll put up a 4.5 ERA and be serviceable. But that's his ceiling, I would say. Like, really, because you're now taking a guy who threw 95 in the bullpen and you're putting him in the rotation and asking him to throw 5 innings, and he's going to throw 92 or 93 because that's how it works. So I don't know. So -3 on the rotation. So just so you know, guys, we are now -1 on last year's team. Finally, we'll go to the bullpen. The bullpen is a massive improvement from last season. We have subbed in Jason Adam, Jeremiah Estrada, Adrian Morejon, and Alec Jacob for Tom Cosgrove, Enyo De Los Santos, Johnny Brito, Pedro Avila, and Stephen Kolek.
Whoa.
Yeah. That's a huge improvement. That is a massive improvement. Unfortunately for us, the bullpen has the smallest impact of the game of the position groups that we've said. So even with all of that marketing improvement, I'm going to put a +1 on the bullpen. +1. Which you might be saying I'm cheaping out, but that is how I feel. That tends to be how analytics looks at it. You know, you look at good relievers, unless they are the creme de la creme, they're not putting up more than 1 more seasons. So all of that put together, I'm predicting the 2025 Padres, as currently constructed, to go 85-77. Everywhere you go, there you are, Craig. You
little duck, you.
You were right back in a circle. And I needed to walk you through it because it was going to be annoying if I just said, oh, it's the same number again. But look at last season. The Padres had a 500 team. They made moves, and then they ended up blowing way past 85 wins, and they improved, and they created a much better team. They might be able to do that again. But looking at last season's team, I felt pretty good about an 85-win prediction, and I feel pretty good about it right now. So with that, I yield the floor.
Chris?
You're muted, Chris.
I saw that. Rafy, I am really happy that you covered the rotation because I am completely ignoring it. I'm not going to touch on it at all. I feel like we know what it's going to be. I feel like we got 2 really good guys and then a whole bunch of questions, and we have a fantastic pitching coach who has done a very good job of maximizing the juice squeezed from the lemons. So I'm going to trust it and not put much into it. The crux of my focus, gentlemen, is players with negative value. In 2023, when they had the worst bench ever, the Padres gave a ton of at-bats to players with negative value. Last year, They did not. Now, they kind of did because their catcher, Luis Campusano, was a negative value player. So let's do a favor to all of us and remove catchers from all the things I'm about to talk about. Without catchers last year, they gave 400 plate appearances to negative WAR players. In 2023, that number more than doubled. 840 plate appearances were given to players with negative value. In 2022, when they went out and got Juan Soto and had Robinson Cano on the team, we remember it a little kind of mixed, but they played some good ball. The team was all right rounded by Melvin. They gave 669 plate appearances to players with negative value. And I think that number is definitely going to go up this year from last year, 404. I think Yuli Gurriel, you're talking about him getting 300 by himself, Craig. And I'm fairly certain he's going to be negative value because he has been for a very long time. The Padres lost a guy that we're not talking about a lot, but a dude who put up more WAR than Manny Machado the last 3 years in Ha-Sung Kim. I think they're going to miss him terribly. I think because he was gone at the end of last year, we kind of forgot about him a little bit and what he brings defensively. All these numbers are WAR, so it factors in defense as well as offense. In 2022, the Padres saw their stars, Tatis, Manny, Soto, Xander, not Xander because he wasn't signed yet, but Tatis, Manny, and Soto put up 8.5 WAR. We're talking. We look at this team as a stars and scrub roster, right? So the stars have to perform in order for the club to win. That's what their success hinges on. Well, in 2022, they got 8.5 wins out of them. In 2023, when the team sucked and the season fell apart, they had double that because you had Soto in there and you had Xander in there. You didn't have Merrill. I'm not including Ha-Sung Kim, but that went up to 16 wins. And you didn't have Tatis in 2022, of course, so he adds to it. But the point is, the Stars produced pretty decently in 2023, and it didn't help the team. In 2024, I add Jackson Merrill into the number because he's one of the stars of the club. You obviously lose Soto, so that's a nice little trade-off. You still only get 11 wins out of it. It's not all that much, all things considered. So if you're relying on the Stars to carry the scrubs out of it, you're going to be sorely, sorely disappointed. And with the news that we just saw with the guys who have made the team, it has not helped my number at all. I just want to fire off a few quick predictions about this season. Last year, I was wrong when I said Jake Cronenworth was not going to get better because he hadn't in his career. I'm not going to make the same mistake again. I think Jake's going to turn in a solid year. I want to see him drive the ball more. I don't want to see him swinging for the fences. Victor Rodriguez talked about this a little bit during a game the other day. I think Jake's going to be more of a contact guy, and with his defense, he's going to provide value. It's going to be good. I think Mike Schilt is a damn good manager. I think he's a floor raiser for the club. The guy has a .563 win percentage in his career. That's a 91 win pace. I think the dude is very good at his job, and I can't really speculate fairly about who's making the roster decisions and his impact on those. I can only say that it's AJ Preller's responsibility. So at the end of the day, that's who catches the blame for Yuli Gurriel being on the team. That's who catches the blame for Martin Maldonado even coming to spring training whatsoever. I think the catching has a real potential to sink the team. We talked about the negative value last year, which Campusano brought to it. In 2022, the catchers were good, man. Austin Nola wasn't amazing, but he was a positive WAR player. Jorge Alfaro, overall positive WAR player. 2023, a little bit worse. And then in 2024, we saw our worst one, and it's not going to get better in 2025. This bench is bad. The Stars are fine, but like I said, it isn't going to be enough. You need the intangibles of a deep bench. You need those guys getting wins on the margin. All of us predicted worse for Jackson Merrill than he actually did last year, but you were absolutely right about him being the X factor on the team, Rafy. You pointed out in our predictions last year that he may not, be a type of player who could sink the team, but he could sure bring it up. And that's exactly what we did. We have 2 fucking White Sox on our teams, guys. I am so disappointed by this bench decision. It bums me out. And last year, I made my actual prediction, the bona fide prediction, the exact same as my optimistic projection, because I was optimistic about the club. Like, I really liked the guys on it. I thought Mike Schilt was going to bring great energy to it. I thought he was going to bring a late season push to the team that we hadn't seen. And he did. I was right. Like, in August and September, this club was fantastic. They played some of the best baseball we've seen in a long time. I forget the winning percentage, but it was over 600. They were really good. They were really, really good. This year, it may not have been the assignment last year, but I don't care because I was right. I was more right than all of you when I said 89 wins was my projection. This year, I'm not optimistic. Yuli has completely sunk that. They saw bad luck in 2023 turn to great luck in 2024. It's a mistake to count on that again. Even if that just resorts to right down the middle, what you would expect, I don't see it adding some magic to the team. They did not replace Ha-Sung Kim. You know, they gave Xander Bogaerts the job. Jose Iglesias is the closest one. And, you know, I don't think he's going to play the same as he did last year. Last year, when we did the optimistic podcast, which I was planning in advance to be my true projection, the club hadn't traded for Dylan Cease. And then they traded for Dylan Cease, and we came in and we recorded our prediction episode. And you guys adjusted your bars a little bit. But I didn't, because I was anticipating AJ to make moves. We saw the powder. We saw Jacob Marcy, AFL Player of the Year. We saw Robbie Snelling and Dylan Lesko sitting in the system. This year, that isn't there. I do not anticipate gigantic moves. Like, maybe AJ can do it. If anybody could, it's him. But I do not see it at all. And again, the 2024 Chicago White Sox were the worst team in modern Major League history. And AJ Preller looked at that roster and said, "Give me some of that." Well, we got it. We got it, boys. 84 wins. Missing the playoffs. Unless this team does a quick pivot off of these negative WAR players, off of guys that don't give you positional flexibility. They don't give you anything besides veteran leadership and moxie and Gatorade muscles. I'm not optimistic. They need to pivot off of this course fast. Otherwise, in an extremely competitive National League, they're going to fall out, and they won't fall out quick enough. So they will be losers in both the micro of the 2025 season when they miss the playoffs, and then they'll be losers in the macro because they'll fail to capitalize on the value they have on the roster right now. They won't make the trades. They won't reinvest in the future, and we're gonna suffer in the next couple years because of it. I talked about having my faith in AJ Preller completely restored. I'm not going to say he's completely thrown it all away, but this Kevin Acee article and the news that these guys are making the team has really bummed me out. I didn't come in with this exact number. I came in with actually the same number you both gave last year and the number that you've already given, Rafy. But I've lowered it one. I've lowered it one because that's what these dudes have given their teams. Gavin Sheets, -3 wins the last 3 years. Yuli Gurriel, -0.8. Tyler Wade, -1.7. Martin Maldonado, -0.6. These are negative value players. Even when you include the defense, base running, whatever you want to do for Tyler Wade, they are putting not good players on the team. They are not doing the smart thing like I asked them to do. They are doing what they perceive to be a safe thing because they trust the leadership and they trust track records from a decade ago that are no longer in play. So yeah, that's where I'm at, boys. I'm not optimistic this year, and that makes me really sad because I like being the cheerleader. I like being the guy who's like fun, and I can't be that this year.
Well, I'm deeply annoyed with you both. I am annoyed with Rafie because he covered
I played your game, Craig. I played your game. What more do you want?
I'm annoyed with Rafie because he took up almost all of the position player points that I would have made, and then he decided to go ahead and pick 85 wins, which I thought I was going to be the clever duck that showed up and gave the exact same prediction, and he trumped me. Then you're going right along, Chris, with a wonderful essay, and I'm sitting here going, well, Rafie covered all of this, Chris covered all of that, so now I've got these 3 things that at least can be my part of the prediction, and then you continued on to cover every single one of them and then recover it. So I've got nothing to add to this conversation other than to maybe just underline and highlight. Okay, I agree with Rafie that the Padres are beginning in a higher place. Okay, now I'm not going to go with the +1s and the +2s, +3s. All right, I'm not sure that I agree exactly with the numbers Rafie said. I think that the base of this Padres team is stronger than the base of last year's strong Padres team. I do. And I think we're maybe in the area of recency bias because I'm pissed off about this move too. But when Rafie was going through our bench last year, like, do we really think that Jose Azocar's spot, was so much better than giving it to Gavin Sheets or giving it to Yuli Gurriel? Like, we're kind of like arguing over the shape of the pieces of sand here. The real thing is over here. The stars of this team, the trunk of the tree is there. We're looking at some of the leaves, and some of the smaller branches. I think the trunk is still there. So that's part one for me. Okay. But I agree with everything, Chris, that you said about the negative players. And I do think that we've got a like the thing we loved about last year's team is that you felt like 1 through 9, you had a crack. You felt like everyone was kind of a hitter in the lineup. And even Higgy, yeah, he's not an average guy, but he's got the pop you felt like you had that deep balanced lineup. And 2023, we didn't. Okay. So I agree with Rafie's main point. I agree with your main point. Now I want to get to those 3 things. And like I said, you kind of touched them all a little bit. But I look at these as the things that are the outliers. How good a manager is Mike Shildt really? Because if Mike Shildt leads this team to 91 wins, it will have been the same thing that he did for every other team that he's managed in a full season in Major League Baseball. He's never gone under 90 in a full season. And in the short season that he managed, he led his team to the playoffs. And they, of course, lost to the Padres, but he led his team to the playoffs. So how good a manager is Mike Shildt really? There were many points last year that we questioned whether he was that great a manager at all. Or that he was a good manager that had a terrible bedside manner with the press. By the end of the year, I was kind of thinking Mike Shildt was manager of the year, and I think he got screwed out of that. I think he should have won manager of the year. I don't think Pat Murphy's all that much better than Mike Shildt. But this is different. This is giving him a Bob Melvin-y roster and saying, turn it into a 90-win team. Can he do it? I don't know. I feel like that's something I just need to throw out there. How good a manager is he really? If he wins 90 games again, I think you need to start talking about him as one of the elite managers in Major League Baseball, as somebody who can take a team that isn't expected to be that good and make them better than they are. On to point 2, which you did discuss, Chris, so I apologize for redundancy, but AJ Preller's ability to improve the 2025 San Diego Padres is maybe at its all-time low. He has no money room. The team's already over the second, tranche right now, the second apron. And he's got, other than his 2 top prospects, nothing to move out of the minor leagues. We're pretty much in an all-in pot committed position now. And I don't think if we muddle through a 50-50 like we did last year, that the message will be exactly the same in terms of we got to go do everything we can to improve this team. Everything you can to improve this team, you've maybe already done. My feeling is more of the opposite, which is that AJ is being given 100 games to prove that he's got a team worth hanging on to for the final 62. And that if he doesn't have that team at the 100-game mark, that the much more likely scenario is trade Dylan Cease, trade Michael King, trade Luis Arraez. Can you move another contract off this team, pair it with maybe trying to get a Merrill extension or something? But it's a move off. One of the things that we talked about previously with the moves he's made is he's created the optionality of being able to move off of this season without going down with the ship, and just watching everyone walk out in free agency at the end of 2025. So I don't think the leash is the same as what he's had. Remember, in 2023, the team was under 500 and they didn't sell. Yeah. I think if they're under 500 in 2025, they selling. Like, they will be selling. So the leash is not as long. The ability for AJ to improve the team from its current position is questionable at best. And the third point, which Chris also brought up, see, I hate you both equally, is that we can't count on this team to be as good in one run and close games as they were last year. And I think one of the reasons the team was so damn good in extra innings compared to how bad they were in 2023 was that in 2023, every guy tried to hit a home run with the Manfred man on second base. And in 2024, they tried to hit a ground ball on the right side to advance the Manfred man. And they just got the job done last year. I don't see this roster with Jason Hayward, Elias Diaz, and Gavin Sheets / Yuli at the bottom of the order. I don't know. I think they are really counting on Jake and Xander to really up their games back to that all-star level in order for the math to math out. So I think even at the very, very best, we have to assume the team drops a couple 3 games just based on the random vagaries of we were so bad in 23, we were so good in 24. Where do we land when all is said and done? Well, for me, when all is said and done, fuck off, Rafy. I'm not changing. I'm picking 85 wins.
Yes.
I'm not going to change it. I'm not going to change it.
Okay. But Craig, when we started this podcast, you were like, "We're all in on the Padres making the playoffs." No, I wanted to set
isn't the expectation in the populace, like isn't the expectation
for a fan going to
in San Diego
yes.
that they're going to make the playoffs?
Yes, but I don't think 85 wins makes the playoffs.
I don't know that it will. I don't know that it won't. Last year it didn't. The year before it
teams,
did.
Man. There are 5
NL
really good wild card contenders.
But that could really decrease it. But are there 4 really bad teams in the National League? Who's going to get Colorado?
Yeah.
Florida, Miami.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who else is going to get their head
Nationals,
kicked
and
in?
the Nationals could surprise, but I don't think they will. I think they're
The
bad.
Nationals are more likely to be better than you think than they are to be worse than you think. They've got too many young players for them not to be.
Sure.
Like, who else? Are the Pirates going to get their heads kicked in?
Maybe,
No.
but they got Paul
Like-
Skeens every fifth day.
The Reds are good.
Yeah, well, I'd say the Pirates and the Reds are comparable. Those
Same.
are
The
like
Brewers?
high 70s. Brewers are going
Brewers
to
do
win
it
every year.
Like, that's what I mean.
Yeah, you need bad teams in order for everyone to be over 90 wins. Everyone got to soak up, 5 or 6 wins from the White Sox last year.
Yeah,
You know,
this is why you saw the Tigers, the Royals, and the Guardians all make the playoffs.
Right. I don't know that it's going to be that way. And I think 85 wins in 2025 has a 50 to 60% chance of making the playoffs. And that's where I'd put the Padres. But having said that, the reason my number is 85 is because I was starting up in that 91 range. And I feel like we've been knocked down about 6 pegs over the course of, we don't have Darvish now. We're now, okay, yes, we've got Pivetta, but now we got Hart and Kolek, or Vasquez and Kolek. And this bottom of the order is just straight 2023 Dregaroni. Like, I'm just not into it. I'm not vibing with any part of it. And they can show me wrong. We all were thinking Profar would be whatever last year. So, we can hang on to that. I do like Iglesias, but like, where's our Peralta? I don't know. I don't like that we don't have a backup center fielder. I don't like that Maldonado is on this team, and the fact that Gurriel's on this team friggin' stinks. So, to be honest, 85 is about me cranking this up as wide as I can. I think there's a lot of worlds where the team finishes 500 and just doesn't make it, or they need old fucks to play Renaissance ball. They need Diaz, Hayward, and Gurriel to play Renaissance ball. And I don't know.
And also, I mean, there's an NL team that we haven't mentioned that is very important to the Padres' fortunes, and that's the San Francisco Giants.
Sure.
The Giants could be duds. And if the Giants are duds and they win 74 games, the Padres are probably making the playoffs. Like, there's a good chance. There's a chance that the Padres finish below the Giants this year, and they're certainly not making the playoffs if that's the case. So, and a lot of that's out of our control. A lot of that is in the hands of Sleepy Bob Melvin. So,
which I like.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, there's a part of me that wants to say 81 and 81, but I just think that is recency bias because of the last week, and that sometimes you get myopic and you miss the bigger picture. And in this case, the bigger picture is, if you do get a big year from the big guys on this team's going to be good, period. You've got 2 great starters. Pivetta could be quite good. The bullpen, here's another, again, why I wind up settling at 85. Like, yeah, we got the issues with the 2 rotation spots right now. But the beginning of the year is when your bullpen is the freshest, and when you can use it the most, and when it can cover that up the best. And it's possible that the Padres just spackle right on over that problem until Darvish returns, and then he actually does return, and he gives you 120 innings, that's quality, and we wound up getting over the bridge without realizing it. Like, there's ways for this to work. There absolutely is. I hate what we've done with the DH position. I absolutely hate it. But here we are. And I'm excited for the season. I'm just nervous that there's going to be a lot of Padre fans that think that everything that happened in 2023 is way in the rearview mirror, and that everything that happened last year is just simply repeatable. And I think we are looking more 23 than we are 24 today.
We are all seeing a lot of the same stuff, and that scares me a little bit. Can I give you guys one fun prediction?
Sure.
I think Mike Schilt is going to set his personal best for ejections. He got ejected 5 times one year as a Cardinal. This is the last year that managers will get to argue over balls and strikes.
Oh, I like it.
So I think Mike Schilt goes all in on giving the umpire shit, and he gets
that ball strike wrong, cuz.
Yeah, that's throw me
My
out.
guys are
Just throw me
dogs.
Yeah,
out.
I was
They're-
gonna say,
You were
is
wrong.
it gonna
Throw
be
me out.
because he's begging the umps to throw him out?
Now listen, you might
Yeah.
want to throw me out right now.
Throw me out right now. Let's do it. I also have one more thing to say before we go, and it's on about as worse a note as you can possibly have. And Craig, you can speak on it a lot more because you talked with him a lot more than I did. But San Diego Union Tribune sports journalist Bryce Miller, we found out yesterday, passed away. And if any of you had the privilege of getting to meet this guy, he was such a kind dude. He was so kind and genuine. And I got to meet him a couple times. He called me once for an article he was writing. And I emailed him a couple months ago, hoping to get a chance to see him in spring. And I just wanted to say how profoundly sad that news made me. And just to send love to his family and all the people that actually were in his life a great deal. Because I can only imagine the hole that they're feeling today.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you went there because that's where it's going to go. If not, Bryce is just, it's a gutting loss. He's just a really good human being. He was a good human being and lived a great life. And, when I had a radio show, we had him on like almost every other week. And we were even calling it like Tuesdays with Bryce to just, could talk to him about anything, funny, gracious, just, a really, really good person, centered, present, not egotistical, not wrapped up in the wrong things, a real human being, nature lover, outdoor lover. I hope that the eternal river has fish that are biting for him, forever. And I knew that I didn't know that this was coming, but before we were off the air, Bryce would always return my text and come on or tell me he couldn't. And like the second to last time I didn't hear from him. And then the last time his brother texted me from his phone and told me Bryce was in the hospital. And, knowing what he had been dealing with cancer, it just, cancer fucking sucks. He was 56. He could have been with us for 30, 40 more years. But the big wheel keeps on turning, man. Bryce Miller, life well lived, a good person who did the right thing and had to lived an incredible life. Probably, left this earth with no regrets. And I'm glad to have had the opportunity to have interacted with him as many times as I did. And nothing's promised to any of us.
Yeah.
Nothing is promised to any of us.
I'll just direct people to the Des Moines Register, which put out a lovely obituary for him, because that's where Bryce worked before he moved to San Diego and before he worked at the Union Tribune. And so obviously my only knowledge of him was his work at the SDUT. So if you wanted to learn a little bit more about what his career was like before that, just go check out the Des Moines Register. They have a nice article.
Beautiful stuff. All right. Yuli Gurriel, you son of a bitch. This whole thing over. Martin Maldonado. Can you two get in one Uber and just get the fuck out of here? We'll even get you an Uber Black with an extra large back seat for both of your.
We'll get you a private
seats.
plane on Manny Machado's credit card.
I'll drive him to the airport myself.
GTFOH, you two. My Lord. All right. That's it. Tell us what your predictions are. If you're watching on YouTube, show us in the comments what your predictions are for the year. If you haven't, go to patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub. Join our community in the Discord, in our community. Tell us what your predictions are. We'll be back with a group therapy for our patrons exclusively the night before opening day, when probably we'll know who Eggy Rosario got traded for. and we'll be back with post-game shows later this week as well. So until then, for Chris and Rafie, I'm Craig. Go Padres.